Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into things because today we're taking a super intense, ground level look at what it would actually take to colonize another world. I mean, we hear so much about humanity's future in space, right? But beyond the Hollywood sci fi movies and those flashy headlines, what is the actual day to day reality of trying to live on the red planet? Well, today we're breaking down the hard science of surviving Mars.
So do me a favor real quick. Just imagine waking up, but not on Earth. You're on Mars. You pop open the heavy reinforced door of your habitat, and outside, it's just endless red dust stretching all the way to the horizon. You look up, and the sky isn't that nice, comforting blue we're used to. It's this eerie, rusty orange. There are no trees, no oceans, no birds, and yeah, absolutely no fresh air. In fact, the air out there is so impossibly thin that if your suit fails for even a few seconds, game over. It is a harsh, unforgiving place with literally zero trace of nature as we know it. But here's the crazy part. Scientists firmly believe that one day we could actually live there. But could we really survive, or is it all just science fiction? Let's find out.
All right, Section 1, Waking Up on Mars. To really wrap our heads around the survival aspect, we first have to ground ourselves in the sheer scale of this place. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun, and just getting there is a monumental task. I mean, Mars is on average about 225 million kilometers away from Earth. Let that sink in for a second. 225 million kilometers. Even using the absolute best, most cutting-edge technology we have today, reaching Mars is not a quick weekend road trip. You're looking at a grueling 6 to 9 months hurtling through deep space just to arrive. That means if things go south, a rescue mission or an emergency grocery run from Earth is nearly a year away. Once you land, you are truly, completely on your own.
Which brings us to Section 2, the deadly atmosphere.
So say you step outside on Mars. The very first thing that's going to try to kill you, the air itself. Here on Earth, our atmosphere has about 21% oxygen. It's the perfect sweet spot that we need to thrive. But Mars, the atmosphere there has only about 0.1% oxygen. Basically nothing. Without a highly advanced spacesuit and a completely sealed oxygen supply strapped to your back, a human being simply wouldn't last more than a couple of minutes.
So if it's not oxygen, what exactly is swirling around in that orange sky? Well, the Martian air is a suffocating mix of about 95% carbon dioxide. It is literally toxic to us. This means every single breath you take on Mars would have to be manufactured by technology. Your entire existence would be completely dependent on the flawless 24/7 operation of life support machinery. No pressure, right? And to make matters worse, the atmosphere isn't just toxic, it's also unbelievably cold. We're talking absolutely freezing. The average temperature sits at a brisk -63 degrees Celsius. And no, it gets worse. During the Martian winter, those temperatures can violently plunge down below -120 degrees. That is a level of cold that would freeze exposed skin in a matter of moments. Anyone living there is going to need heavily insulated habitats and incredibly powerful heating systems just to make it through the day.
Moving on to Section 3, the invisible Martian threats.
Okay, so we've covered the immediate dangers, the suffocating and the freezing. But what about the unseen hazards, the ones that slowly and quietly break down the human body over time? See, Earth is incredibly lucky. We have this massive natural magnetic field that acts like an invisible planetary shield, blocking all that harmful radiation blasting out of deep space. Mars? Yeah, it doesn't have that shield. Because of this, astronauts would be constantly bombarded by significantly higher levels of cosmic radiation every single day. Over time, that kind of severe exposure drastically shoots up the risk of cancer and cellular damage. This invisible threat is a real game changer because it completely dictates how we'd have to live there. It's exactly why scientists think future Mars homes can't just sit right on the surface. They'd probably need to be built deep underground or be buried under thick layers of Martian dirt just to keep everyone safe. And here's another invisible threat for you: gravity. Or rather, the lack of it. Gravity on Mars is only about 38% of what we feel here on Earth. Now, at first, that sounds like a blast, right? You could jump way higher, easily lift heavy things, just go bounding across the red dirt like a superhero. But living in low gravity for months or years, it's actually terrible for our biology. It dangerously weakens our muscles, saps our bone density, and really messes with how the heart pumps blood. Astronauts living on Mars would absolutely have to commit to rigorous, grueling daily workouts just to keep their bodies from falling apart.
All right, Section 4, food, water, and oxygen.
Okay, take a breath. I know, we've talked a lot about how this planet is basically actively trying to kill us. But there are some incredible logistical solutions and just brilliant science that we can use to actually survive and maybe even thrive. But first, we have to accept the baseline reality. There is no grocery store on Mars. There are no farms, there are no rivers, and it never rains. This total lack of natural resources means future settlers would have to become the ultimate conservationists. They're going to have to grow all their own food inside sealed, high-tech greenhouses using artificial light and perfectly controlled climates. And water? Well, it does exist, but it's mostly trapped as ice deep underground or at the poles. Scientists figure we can extract this ice, purify it, and then fiercely recycle it for drinking, for watering crops, and even for creating oxygen. I mean, out there, every single drop of water would be worth its weight in gold.
And speaking of producing oxygen, this is where things get really cool. Could we actually just manufacture our own breathable air right there on Mars? Surprisingly, yeah. NASA has actually already tested this brilliant little device called MOXIE aboard the Perseverance rover, and it worked. MOXIE literally sucked in that toxic Martian atmosphere and successfully churned out actual breathable oxygen from the carbon dioxide. Now, sure, the amount it made in the test was pretty small, but the implications? Absolutely massive. It proves that we might actually be able to make our own air on site, which totally beats hauling heavy oxygen tanks all the way from Earth. Which leads us nicely into Section 5. Is living there possible?
When you take all this incredible tech and all these daunting challenges and put them together, you realize this isn't just some fun thought experiment anymore. NASA has been obsessively studying human missions to Mars for decades, and private companies like SpaceX are out there actively trying to build the ships to take us there soon. The ultimate dream is a permanent human settlement. But let's be real. If you lived there, your daily routine would be intensely strict. You'd spend most of your life inside pressurized habitats. Just opening your front door to go outside would require an exhaustive spacesuit check. Your meals would come entirely from indoor farming. Every single sip of water you take and every breath of air you breathe would be constantly monitored and heavily recycled. Even the most basic daily chores would require intense planning and a massive amount of teamwork. It would be a life entirely dictated by science, routine, and survival.
But, we really do have to stay grounded here. The real answer to whether it's truly possible is maybe. I mean, we've got a lot of the technology figured out, but there are still some monumental hurdles standing in our way. We've got to figure out a foolproof way to block out that severe cosmic radiation. We have to keep people sane and healthy during the insanely long spaceflight, guarantee our food supplies don't fail, and somehow figure out how to handle complex medical emergencies when the nearest hospital is 100 million miles away. And honestly, the toughest hurdle might just be the psychological one, the extreme, crushing isolation of being that far away from the rest of humanity. Surviving Mars is not going to be easy. But then again, neither was reaching the moon. Every giant leap in human history seemed completely impossible right up until the moment we did it.
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. Think about it. One day, the very first human footprints might actually get pressed into that endless red dust. And sometime after that, the very first human child could actually be born on another planet. If that happens, it won't just be a win for space exploration. It will profoundly, fundamentally alter the course of human history forever. We would officially become an interplanetary species. So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. If you were given the chance to leave Earth forever, knowing all the terrible dangers, all the freezing cold, and all the isolation, just to be part of starting a brand new civilization on Mars, would you go? Thanks so much for hanging out with me to explore this incredible topic today, and keep learning.